Alright, so I'm gonna start the review now. This is one of the best games I've played in a long time, really. Um, I'll start with like all the things I like about the game, because there aren't a lot of things I don't like about the game. In fact, it's not really so much as things I don't like about the game, it's just things that could be improved about it. Stuff that they could improve in a patch, actually. Now, when I first heard about this game, it was like a review on IGN. I didn't really read too much about it, but the first thing that really drew me to the game before anything else were the graphics. These are some of the most beautiful graphics beautiful 2D graphics I've seen. They really pop, and they fit so well into the theme of the game. So that immediately drew me to the game, just because I'm kind of a sucker for 2D graphics. Now, the premise of the game is, of course, farming, and it was heavily inspired by Harvest Moon. And the developer, which was basically one guy as far as I know, the reason why he made this game was because he was disappointed in the recent Harvest Moon games. He was waiting for a good Harvest Moon game, and he was just disappointed with the latest entries. So instead of waiting around forever, or never, for a good Harvest Moon game, he decided to make his own, and he really succeeded. Now, the premise of the Harvest Moon games never really made sense to me before. I never played them, but I always knew they were like about farming, and just the idea itself is weird, you know, like, try and imagine just like selling that idea to a bigwig publisher and saying, hey, this is a good idea. We need to make a game where you do chores as the gameplay. Like, I don't even know how they were able to pull that off. But they did, and it was successful. So this game definitely owes a lot to Harvest Moon. And I can't compare the two games because I never played it. But I recognize that. Now, the way the game succeeds is interesting in its gameplay. I think the reason why it succeeds is because of the positive feedback loop you get. You do work, and while the work itself may not be enjoyable, it's the redemption you get when your work pays off. It's instant redemption, instant feedback. You're working hard to grow crops, and then once it finally grows, you know, it's psychological. Like, your brain reacts positively to seeing, you know, the fruits of your labor manifest. And that's what keeps you coming back, and that's what's so addictive about it. There's lots of other things that keep you going in this game, too. Like the community center bundles and unlocking things, improving your character. You know, it's a psychological thing where you have to do work, do manual labor in order to unlock goodies, things that improve your character in different ways. There are lots of other games that do that too, including Metal Gear Solid 5, which I'm playing right now. But I digress. So the gameplay is really addictive, but I want to emphasize that just because a game's addictive doesn't necessarily mean that it's actually good. I know that's hard to really wrap your head around sometimes, but it's true. You know, an addictive game isn't necessarily a fun game. Like, Flappy Birds has been described as addictive, but that game's not that fun for some people. Some people have described that game as boring, but addictive. They qualify it like that, which is interesting, that you can have both qualities. Now, I think that this game manages to succeed at being fun and addictive, which is not easy to do. Now, you could say that the chores themselves, like any one specific task, isn't necessarily fun, or even fun to watch. Like, I mean, how fun is it to just watch someone hack away at a piece of wood and chop down lumber? That by itself isn't fun. But seeing it all come together is fun. You know, just like this, like seeing all the fruits of my labor You know, seeing all of seeing all my work being rewarded. That's psychologically pleasing. You know, seeing all the breakdown and stuff. Oh, okay, this is what produces a lot, and then you improve your skills next time you do it. You're going to produce more of what produces a lot. But the game also incentivizes you to diversify your crops by giving you different rewards for growing different things, you know, with the community center bundles and also gifting things and things like that. So it's all really complicated, um, but simple at the same time, and I'll clarify what I mean by that. This game's really easy to learn, but it's hard to master, and that's the hallmark of a really good game. Um, because it shows that it's easy to get into, but it has a lot of depth. And that's what keeps you coming back. On the same token, the game, it's one of those games where you could like pick up and play pretty much any time. You know, it doesn't really matter what your mood is. Since it's simple to play, but hard to master, you don't have to be in a particular mood in order to play the game. You know, you can be in any mood and still be ready to play the game. Always something new to learn, exactly. There's lots of things to discover in this game. And people who have played this game for hundreds of hours, including Kate and also Nilavani, they learn new things by watching me play, and I learn new things by watching other people play too, including Kate. And I learn things from Nilavani and everyone. So there's just so much to see and discover in this game. But at the same time, you know, it doesn't require a certain kind of mood in order to play it. And you're not going to forget how to play it. Whereas with other games, like if you take a really long break, like an RPG, a JRPG, you take a really long break and then you come back to it, you're not going to remember how to play it. You're not going to remember what to do, what the storyline's about. You're not going to remember any of that. But this game can. You can do that. And it's not a big deal at all. So that's really the hallmark of a really good game, you know, that has that, manages to strike that great balance. Now, I don't want to forget about talking about the music, which is fantastic. There's so much music, and going back to the graphics, like this is all hand in hand. It's so great that the music changes with the seasons, and so do the graphics. So like there's your brain always wants something more, something new. You know, it doesn't want just repetition. And this game, as you keep playing it, you know, as the seasons go by, it changes both visually and orally, right? The music, it fits the mood so well, especially like when you're in the dungeons and you get kind of like that melancholy music. I love that. You know, they're really memorable tracks, and they're very apropos. You know, they're the kind of tunes that you would that wouldn't be out of place on like a 16-bit console too, which is obviously what this game was going for and what was inspired by. You know, 16-bit game on the SNES. So you gotta keep in mind, there's just one guy who made all of this, which is incredible. And like I said, the graphics, even though it's using kind of like a 16-bit style, they're so dynamic. Even though it uses you know, bitmap pixel art, it has all these modern effects like rainfall and leaves blowing in the wind, pollen blowing in the wind, flower petals blowing in the wind, and other cool effects like hallucinations and things like that. And also the graphics change with the seasons. So it keeps it fresh and new as you keep playing it, which is really incredible. Alright, so like, no game is perfect. And, of course, there are things to nitpick about it. My complaints about the game aren't major. So I'm going to demonstrate it right now, real quick. The combat is, like, the best thing about the combat, I shouldn't even call it the combat, going into the mines, isn't the combat itself. It's getting the rewards, you know, getting all the items and things like that. That's what's fun. You could say that the actual, like, fighting engine is a little bit too dark. The actual, like, combat engine, it's nothing, like, spectacular. Don't expect, like, Diablo 2 or 3 in this. It's nothing like that, but really what makes it awesome, just like right now, I'm going in here and then, like, I'm excited because I see this rock here, which I know is going to give me jade. That's what's cool. That instant redemption. Something to pay off the rewards for doing work. But the combat itself is kind of basic. You know, you just slash at things and you kill things like that. It's not bad, but it's nothing, like, amazing either, but it's not horrible. You know, it's fine. Really my complaint, though, is the mouse interface. I'm assuming this isn't a problem in if you use a gamepad, but, like, really, he should be slashing in the direction the cursor is in. You know, so, like, you can kind of see the problem. Like, if I'm facing backwards, but I'm clicking over here, he doesn't turn around, and that becomes a real problem if you're getting ganked by enemies. He will change facing if you get the cursor kind of close, but even then, see, like, it's not working here. Like, what? Okay, see, now it works. Like, what's up with that? And this is even version 1.1. So, like, I'm kind of confused as to why, you know, they didn't improve that. Like, why can't he slash in the direction that I'm pointing in and do it consistently? Like, it seems to work whenever it wants to. See, like, why did he then slash downward when I'm over to the right here? Like, it seems to work whenever it wants, as opposed to when it should work. That's really the only complaint I have about it, though. I mean, you're still incentivized to use the mouse interface because it's easier to organize menus using it. It's a pretty good interface, but yeah, that combat leaves something to be desired. It's not the greatest. There are some weird bugs, but most of the weird bugs were fixed in the patch. I did talk a little bit about how I think that this game could have benefited tremendously from multiplayer, and that's exactly what they're working on. They're working on multiplayer for this game. So that's going to be tremendous. That's going to be awesome. And I can't wait for that. The other complaint I would have is that, and you could say that this is more of a personal preference thing, I would prefer there to be an objective. You can play this game infinitely. There is no objective to the game. So some might describe that as pointless. Without something clear to fixate on as your ultimate goal, it might be there might be a lack of motivation at a certain point, and you could get bored of the game at a certain point once you kind of do everything else, right? That could happen. It's conceivable, sure. So maybe this is just a personal thing, but I would prefer there to be some kind of overall goal to the game. I wish there was. And then what they could have done is, after you beat the goal, after you beat the ultimate objective, then you can keep on playing, just like in Skyrim or Oblivion, you know, the Elder Scrolls games. There's a main quest to it, but even after you beat the main quest, you can keep on playing. That's how it should have been, in my opinion. But, you know, that's just me. Other than that, I think the game's fantastic, and it doesn't really have a lot of negatives. And it's only going to keep on improving as they add more patches and improve the overall quality of the game. And that's all I have to say. So that's it. That's the review.